It's Tuesday. Welcome to Ask M&R episode 188, the series where I answer your questions about Lego, myself, Star Wars, and all sorts of other things. So if you have a question, put it down in the comment section below. Make sure you guys hit that like button. I special ordered something for today's episode, so the extra like would be appreciated. Anyway, we got a ton of questions to get to as usual, so let's hop right into our first one from Briggs English. And he says, have you ever considered decaling clone troopers like Cody or Wolf? So I've considered all sorts of things. However, I personally find decaling to be like the second worst way to have a custom clone trooper. So like my hierarchy of like custom figures, and there's nothing wrong if you have any of these types of things, obviously, but it's just my personal hierarchy. At the very bottom is like Sharpie clones, right? We were all there once. I was there once. I remember sitting at my grandma's house in 2009 looking up tutorial videos on how to Sharpie an airborne trooper. It did not look very good at all, and there wasn't much of a way to have it at any point look good because it's a Sharpie clone trooper. It comes with the territory. They don't look good. A lot of clone troopers were wasted like that. Anyway, maybe I'm completely wrong with this, but I find decaling to be inferior to custom printing. I'll just buy like a CloneArmyCustoms one that's pad printed and everything. And then of course in between there is UV printing, which is lesser quality than pad printing. But to wrap this back into decaling, I haven't tried it yet. It used to be really big back in like the early 2010s, like 2010, 11, 12, I think decaling was kind of big in the world of Lego Star Wars. And then it, in my opinion, kind of fell out of favor throughout basically the rest of the decade until probably like last year. I feel like decaling kind of came back with like AV figures. I don't really know who else is doing, so I don't keep up with it too much. But I certainly feel like it's more of a thing than it had been over the last 7 or 8 years. And it's not something that I personally see myself like going down the rabbit hole of and decaling every clone trooper that's ever existed. But I did have an idea for a video where I would compare like all the types of custom like clone troopers, or I guess that also goes into minifigures as well, just in general, but clone troopers would be the specific focus of the video, like Commander Cody. I'd gotten a couple Commander Cody figures, one of which is pad printed, if it'll focus, and one of which is UV printed, and I think you can tell the difference, pad printing being this one that looks a lot better. I wanted to do a video, but I wanted to have more than just pad versus UV. I wanted to also have decal and like Sharpie examples, or like purist clone trooper and painted and stuff like that. So that was kind of the idea for the video, and so I think in the future when I can get it done, I'm gonna do a video where I learn how to decal and I do all that, and I do like a whole video explaining the difference between each type of custom clone trooper and the pros and the cons. And I think the pros and the cons are essentially going to be pro, it's cheaper, con, it's worse. And that's kind of how it will go up the hierarchy, and that's kind of how I look at it. Pad printing is more expensive than UV, and pad printing looks better than UV. Although I'm kind of guessing that UV might also be worse than decal, so that's something that I want to actually learn for myself. Spider Droid says, what do you do with your instruction books? I imagine you don't toss them, but after collecting for years myself, my drawer is starting to get really heavy. Thanks, love the channel. I know exactly what you're talking about. My drawer is stupid heavy too. I, for years and years and years, piled them up in this black drawer of this nightstand that I had, and of course it's full now, it's literally full. And so I started putting them like under my shelves in the background and whatnot, and now I kind of like put them in the boxes as they come, such as not to like have like a one very heavy spot for them. But when I move, I'll like reorganize all that because I have to get into that drawer. But yeah, I have a really heavy bin, and I'm in the same boat as you. I don't throw them out, like I keep them all, but I really genuinely have no use for them. Some of the instructions are worth like $100 or $200. Like Republic Dropship with ATOT instructions are expensive, like just the manual. So you'd be surprised how much some of these go for, like UCS Cloud City, not UCS Cloud City, but 2003 Cloud City, like $100, $200 just for the manual. I mean, do I really need it to just sit in a drawer? I might sell those one day. I don't know. I just feel like I don't really need them, and the novelty of like having them is kind of worn off for me. Like unless I'm going to use them for a video, like what video am I going to use them for? I don't know. And it's not like I'm rebuilding my Lego sets constantly where I need to find the like I haven't gone in this drawer for like 5 years now or something. Like it's ridiculous. So yeah, I'm in the boat. I save them, but like I think at some point I might crack and get rid of them because they are genuinely useless. Even if you break your Lego sets, the instructions are online. They're free. They're on lego.com. Other people have uploaded them to other sites too. It's not a thing worth having around. Atharv has some great advice for Steven last week. Steven last week's the guy who asked about whether he should buy the UCS Slave 1 now or wait or whatnot, and I think this is the way to go. So anyone that might have watched last week's video, I think this is now the optimal strategy for the UCS Slave 1. So he says, buy one for double the price now, but don't open it. If there's no UCS Slave 1 for Book of Boba Fett, my date on that, the date I would set on that is May 4th of next year. If there's no UCSF by May 4th next year, then you do this. You can open it. If there is a UCS Slave 1 next year, sell it, sell that Slave 1 that you bought for like $500, and then buy the one that's like $250 or $200. And so here's the point. You're probably going to lose like $50 to $100 on that one you bought, but you won't lose as much as if you wait and the price keeps going up. So I think this is the optimal strategy for doing the UCS Slave 1 right now, if you're planning on doing that. Tim says, what would you say is the most limited release set in the last 5 years? The Osprey? As far as like an actual retail set, I think the Osprey does take the crown, but there are certainly, you know, little giveaway things that they've done, like the Jurassic World Dinosaur. There might be like, I don't know, 65 of those or something stupid. Like there's just not a lot of those. There are other sets that I think are more limited than the Osprey. If it just depends on how you want to count that and justify what defines as a released set. This Jurassic World Dinosaur, I think, was like a Singapore exclusive or just something really dumb like that. It's definitely rarer than the Osprey. It's worth thousands of dollars, and the Osprey's only worth like 600. Spicy says, what do you think the theme for the next wave of Lego City will be? And this is where we call in the wheel. Since this is basically how they choose Lego City sets every year, I went and got a spin wheel on Amazon, literally 1-day shipping, because I thought it was funny to have for the video, and we have so many great possibilities for Lego City next year, including farm, fire, ocean, space, Arctic, or even Lego City Police again. Obviously, Lego City does not lend itself to having a lot of variety, and they do a lot of the same things over and over again, but this is how we're going to determine what Lego City is going to have next year. Arctic! It's coming back, boys! Graham wants to know what my most controversial opinion is, and we'll keep this Lego related. I thought it'd be cool if I looked at like the like-dislike ratio on my videos and just see if I see something that sticks out as like, hey, I probably said something in that video that was like bad or whatever. And so I went to my most viewed videos. You know, most videos I upload get like 97, 98, 99% like-dislike ratio, which is really great. I thank you guys who press the like button and dislike equally. But that being said, you know, I went to my most viewed videos, starting off with like Lego Meme Sets 3. It was like 95% liked. That's pretty good. There's 97% liked on my First Order Army. I guess I didn't say anything crazy in there. Just a few people jealous that I got a big First Order Army. But you get down to the bread and butter here. 72% like to dislike ratio on top 10 worst remakes. There must have been some subjectively bad opinions there. Of course, it's a very opinionated video, and especially when you talk about things you personally think are bad, other people get really upset about that. And I get it. If you like something, you like it, and you want to defend that, but boy, do some people get really upset. But the one that really stuck out to me, 72% is a really bad like-dislike ratio for me. The one that really stuck out to me, though, is the 59.1. That is a solid F. That does not even round up to a D. And the high school, middle school I went to, technically a D was failing too, so I always considered that basically an F. But anyway, 59%. That's dangerously close to a 50-50 split. And that video was top 10 worst Lego Star Wars sets ever. Now, this video was uploaded over 4 years ago now, so probably next summer I'll do a revised version of this, and I certainly think there are some sets as of late that may be worthy of cracking this list. And of course, as time goes on, my opinions on certain things change, and I would like to revisit this, having now owned some of these sets that I previously didn't, and things like that, because I haven't forever and always been able to afford every Lego set I ever wanted. So some of these were like sets that I hadn't owned, like the Gungan sub from 1999. And I'm reading some of the comments, and I think I know what I said in this video that was so provocative, and it is, I agree, a controversial opinion. It had to do with the Senate Commando Battle Pack. And I said that the reason in 2015 that the Senate Commandos became a lot less cool to me when they were released in a $15 battle pack and made just oh so readily available. My opinion is that as stuff becomes less rare, it becomes, at times, subjectively less cool. That's like the basic thing in really any realm of collectability for many people collecting things, and that's just the way a lot of people see it. On the flip side of that, there's definitely the pro argument to that, is that kids get something that's stupid cheap and readily available and affordable for literally a child can afford $15 for the most part, which is great for them. But yeah, I think that was my big controversial opinion in that video. On top of, like, you know, the Hyena Droid Bomber is bad, which it is, but we can save that argument for another day. Another comment says, you can't really hate on the old sets. It has a rustic kind of charm. Yes, I can. I hate you and your rustic charm, 2001 ATST. You disgust me. Some more Slave 1 talk here, thanks to Andrew Hoffman. He says, assuming the May 4 set is a UCS Slave 1, and I would like to assume that, he says, what are your thoughts on the minifigs in the set? He says, I think it would be interesting if they did a Boba through the decades theme. Young version from Attack of the Clones, Boba in Empire Strikes Back, and current version in the Book of Boba Fett / The Mandalorian. This sounds all great, Andrew, but I find myself having to fall back on the angry commenters that said Phase 2 Cody couldn't be in the gunship because it's an Episode 2 gunship. So if they make a Slave 1, shouldn't the same rationale apply, where the Slave 1 can only be based off one thing and therefore only have minifigures from one thing in it? I just present you an honest question. Andrew, I know you're probably not the same type of person that would be commenting that Phase 2 Cody couldn't be in the gunship, because he obviously could have been, and you would agree with that given your statement that you would love to have minifigures from multiple movies in the Slave 1, and I am more than inclined to agree with you. I think that would be amazing. A young version of Boba Fett, which to me historically has not been a super exciting figure, but it would feel proper for the set, I suppose. And then, of course, I think the more important figures would be the Empire Strikes Back Boba. Of course, you gotta get that arm printing, leg printing. Maybe we get some wraparound leg printing. We've had that before on a few LEGO minifigs and certainly CMFs. And then, of course, the current version from Book of Boba Fett would be the most important. And I think it would be very, very nice if they went and fixed that head or helmet mold color so that the helmet and the chest plate and everything matched like it's supposed to. That would be nice. But yeah, I'm 100% down for this. Tyler says, do you have any tips and tricks to transporting your built sets / how will you move your built sets once you move out? I graduate college this year and I have a decent build collection. I'm trying to officially move out into my apartment next year. Thanks and love your videos. Thanks for the comment, Tyler, and congratulations on finishing up college, bro. It's a long endeavor. Anyway, I would recommend, honestly, like the way I did it and the way I'm going to do it again when I move here. I just put an offer in on a house today. Hopefully that goes through well. I would literally just load up boxes. So like I would carefully place sets into boxes or onto the floor of my car or into the seats of my car or whatever the case is for what's going in which specific space. And you're just going to have to drive them. And this gets exponentially more difficult the farther you move. But personally, I would just put them in boxes or bins or whatever, carefully stack them in. You can certainly have sets just loosely in there. You don't have to bubble wrap them or anything if you're personally driving them from point A to point B, and just drive them there, like in a box, and then, take them out of the box, set them on the ground, and then go get, carload 2 of Lego sets, bring them in hand by hand. Like, it's just the way you kind of have to do it, unless you're willing to go through the trouble of, like, bubble wrapping sets individually and packing them away and shipping them or moving them with a moving company. It's just a whole hassle depending on how you do it. So optimally, you can do it like that. I don't know if more people in the comments have better suggestions, but that's just the way that I've always thought is, like, the best way to do it. Philip Farmer says, can we expect more redos of older reviews and comparisons? 2021 Ryan would go bonkers on 6+ years ago Ryan calling a Star Corps Trooper Commander Cody. I know, right? Well, I still think the 2005 Turbo Tank figure is supposed to be Cody. It's not really Cody. It doesn't look too much like him, but to, 10, 11-year-old me, it was always Commander Cody, and that was just the magic of being 10 and 11 years old. Cynical me of today doesn't quite feel that way. Anyway, absolutely. I have always, like, my dream, I guess LJ Johnson kind of lives my dream, but in a different world of Bionicle, because I think LJ Johnson reviewed every Lego Bionicle set. I would love to review every Lego Star Wars set, which includes redoing older sets, like I just redid the Snowtrooper Battle Pack. I guess this is just a first timer, but I'm gonna redo Jabba's Palace. I got a sealed one down on the ground back there. There's a lot of redos to do as well as new reviews to do. So like every Thursday for the next couple months, I got some coming out. Just keep an eye out for those. Dream is essentially have a reasonable quality review of every Lego Star Wars set. So basically anything I did from like 2018 and on, I might keep. Anything 2017 and prior is definitely going to be redone at some point. And by at some point, that means within the next decade, realistically. There's always a lot to do. And the real problem with it to me as like a creator is like the constant growth as a creator, right? So I feel like I'm always getting better at what I'm doing. And there's a problem with that where like if I do a review now of something, but 5 years from now, I'm making them at such a level that I look back at what I'm doing now and I'm like, that's a garbage video. I have to redo it again. Do I just redo them forever and ever and ever? The answer to that is hopefully not, because I don't want to be doing that forever and ever and ever. So like, I have to find a point where I think I'm comfortable with the cutoff of like what I consider good enough Lego. You can always expect more older reviews, and there's so many cool sets I've yet to even touch, so there's just a lot there. And I obviously just bought all the Indiana Jones stuff, which I still haven't watched, but I am just chomping at the bit to get into. I mean, there's just and I have all the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. Like it is insane how much like stuff I've kind of acquired to like create content on, but haven't, like, I feel like I'm just surface level at this point. And I was talking to Gregor Brigatech the other day, And like, to me, the biggest point of like my life right now is like, I have gotten to a point where I am right now on YouTube, which is 383,000 subscribers, which is just bonkers. I got a vlog channel with like 75,000 subs. It's like insane, right? And I have done that all out of my bedroom in my parents' house. Like, to me, like, the idea of owning my own house and like what I can do with that is potentially insane given what I've done like in a very limited area. So like, it's exciting. So yeah, I kind of got off the rails there, but yes, more reviews and comparisons always. I guess I don't really need to answer this, but Will Build It says, does YouTube provide a livable wage? I'll answer this in a more general sense then, because obviously talking about buying a house should infer that I make enough money to buy a house, which would therefore hopefully be a livable wage. So about that house, so I put the offer in, and then somebody offered like $200,000 over asking price. So not gonna be getting that one. I think minimum wage is getting up there too. It's probably like $15 an hour right now, like most people start at, which is pretty good, because when I was working, I guess this is really off topic of YouTube and where I really should be, but when I was working, like when I worked at like a laser tag place, and I made like $7.35 an hour, $8.35 max an hour. It was like terrible, but like this is kind of what I had to do. That was not a livable wage, obviously, and it didn't need to be. That was, beginning of college. I just needed money, and that job specifically sucked. I don't really want to go too far off the rails, but dude, I had to wear black shoes, and like the black shoes that I had were like Nike SB, like skateboarder shoes. I think I don't skateboard, by the way, and they're just the most uncomfortable shoes to stand on for like 6, 7, 8 hours, because I had to be standing in there, which really sucked. And so like I remember one time I just wore in like white shoes that were comfortable, and like the manager lady's like, "Why are you wearing white shoes?" And I'm like, "The other ones aren't comfortable." And I felt like I was like, I don't care if you're upset at me. Those other shoes are so uncomfortable. I'm wearing these. But anyway, does YouTube provide a livable wage? Let's get down to the bread and butter of it. It depends is a great answer, right? There is not a specific level of viewership that is going to define what livable is for any given person, right? Like, if you're making $3,000 a month on YouTube, you can probably make that work very easily if you're smart with your money, and depending on what your like living situation is, certainly, and where you live is also very important. If you live in San Francisco or New York City or Boston, you're going to be paying a lot more money for your just general cost of living than you are going to be living like in Melbourne, Florida, like me. So like there's a lot of variables there as far as like each person's individual case. But generally, anyone that you see on YouTube getting, at least a couple million views a month can probably make it their full-time job if they wanted to. And there are still so many variables to that. I find it very hard to speak generally on this even. You would be surprised, honestly, how crazy some of it is. And especially, like, it depends on what category you are, too. Like, I know specifically for, like, real estate YouTube or, like, investing YouTube, that side of things, they make just absurd CPM. CPM, give you the crash course, is, like, the amount of money you make per view in like a sense. I'll just give you a really rough example. Let's say I get 1,000 views and I make $1. It's not what I make, but that's just rough example, right? Versus a channel that does investing, let's say they get 1,000 views and they make $5. It's that kind of multiplier of like money depending on what you're doing. So it can be pretty insane just depending on the category you're in. I don't know what like the lower categories are for CPM. I think CPMs in general on YouTube right now are just pretty good. But like last May, I was making per view less than half what I make now. Like in the middle of COVID last year, I essentially got my pay cut in half. That's the kind of things that can happen with YouTube. There's pros and cons to that. The revenue is essentially unlimited, but it could stop on a dime. Things can happen. You just never know. But yeah, it certainly can very well provide a livable wage. And for some people, where I very much would love to be, right, is like the people like in LA that just have a goddamn mansion of like just an absurd. I don't think I would ever want to literally live in LA in a mansion, but like you get the point of like there's just a level to it that is just so absurd. It's really cool that it's like even a possibility for just people on the internet to just make content, entertain people and get to. So yeah, like the unspeakable guy, the dude bought a house with a lake and a moat or an island or something. I don't even know, dude. I just remember seeing a video about it like 8 months ago. I was like, that is insane. Like he literally has island that he built with sand in his trash. I don't know. It's just crazy, some of the stuff. Essentially, yes, it does provide a livable wage if you're willing to put in the work and if you can get yourself to a level where it does provide a livable wage. It's certainly not something you walk onto day one and you're making $5,000 a month and it's just going to be smooth sailing from there on out. It's more work than it would seem, and it's probably true of a lot of things. Rod says, a reaction to Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, and what do you think the chances are LEGO actually gets it right and makes sets to give us all the MCU Sinister Six figs in later sets? I'll answer the second question first. Very, 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 very low. I mean, you know how I am. I don't have very high hopes for a lot of things out of that. They have missed a lot of things. I mean, they didn't even do an episode 9 Palpatine, which, I mean, you can say episode 9's bad, sure, but it's still Palpatine, and like you would think they would do that. So to get all 6 of the Sinister Six seems far-fetched to me. They did make all 6 Knights of Ren. So like the precedent is there for the number 6 that they could do it. So let's think. Knights of Ren were split up into what, 4 sets? Like Kylo Ren Shuttle, the Knights of Ren Transport Ship, the Sith TIE Fighter, and Poe's X-Wing. I think those were the 4 sets. If not, it was 5 sets. But either way, just because they did Knights of Ren, and like of all the things for them to have actually done, Knights of Ren would be very low on my like, yeah, they would do that list. I'm gonna give you the yes on Sinister Six and hope it happens, but don't get your hopes up. It does seem really hyped. Like, there's just a lot of people talking about it, and it's got me so interested in it now too, because I never really watched like the newer Spider-Man movies. I watched the old ones when I was young, but like I watched the trailer for this because there was so much hype around it. I had to know what it was. And I was like, there's Doctor Strange, I know him, and the octopus guy, and I probably sound like an idiot right now calling him the octopus guy, but like you get the point, right? I'm not just super ingrained in it the same way a lot of other people are, and I think I would like to be now. I'm interested, right? So yeah, I saw the trailer and it's got me really, really excited for what this is, and I think I'm gonna go watch it when it comes out. So I'm really hoping I enjoy it because like the trailer made it look really good, and I guess that's the point of a trailer. But like, yeah, I'm kind of in on it. Kate Bricks07 says, do you plan on doing another podcast now that Bad Bricks is done, or are you done with podcasts for now? I don't personally plan on doing another podcast. We did Bricks and Bits for 100 episodes. We did Bad Bricks for like 22, I think. Yeah, I don't want to host my own podcast, at least not for the foreseeable future. But like, if anyone has a podcast, I've like kind of been dying to just get on a podcast and just talk. So like, call me, email me, whatever. I'm down to join some podcasts. So if anyone wants me to be a guest on their podcast and they have like a podcast that's like somewhat established, and by established, I don't know, like 10, if you got like 10 or 15 episodes, I'm down to join. I just want to talk to people. I'm in. Anyway, that's it for Ask M&R episode 188. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And you have a question you want answered on next week's episode, leave in the comments section below. I have been talking for so long, so much now that I'm like lightheaded. So I am out. Peace out.